everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to today's featured presentation on how Replicon can help you solve your project time tracking, billing, and utilization challenges. I'm Ashni, a product specialist with Replicon, and I'm joined by Curtis, who is our product expert and will help us today on the demo. Right, here's a quick look at the agenda for today's webinar. We will start with a short overview and discuss some capabilities around solving your project time tracking, billing, and utilization challenges. We will then have a quick demo that will be presented by Curtis and then look up some of the recent customer transformations that Replicon has experienced recently. We will have a Q&A session by the end of the webinar, but if you at any point of time have any questions, then feel free to put them in the questions box on your screen. Here are a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. You will be on mute during the presentation, but as I said, whenever you have questions, there's always a questions box on your screen, so you can just go ahead and push your questions over there. We'll make sure we answer them by the end of the presentation today. All right, then let's get started. So transforming and optimizing your global time requires a new way of thinking. And you have been with Replicon long enough to know that this is where Replicon's time intelligence comes in. Time intelligence is the concept of treating people's time as a valuable strategic asset. The better the insight into how time is being spent, the better the decisions that are made. And of course, the better the decisions, the better the outcomes that we have to that decision. Let's talk about why this is so important. We have seen, and I'm sure you would have experienced this too, that a 1,000-employee company spends about 2 million hours annually, and a 50,000-employee organization spends about 104 million hours annually. That does sound like a lot of time, but the fact is that you cannot produce any more of this finite valuable resource. So organizations that spend their time more wisely have better outcomes, therefore they have a competitive advantage over the others in the industry. So the question is, why is holistically focusing on time so challenging? And I'm speaking out of experience from a large customer base that Replicon has today, that it's really because time data lives in so many fragmented places in an organization's ecosystem. This Franken system shows that pertinent time data can reside in either payroll systems, there can be ERP systems, you can have project management and so many other systems where your time can be divided into, some of which are even hosted and others are on-prem, that actually lead to fracturing the visibility into how the time is spent even more. Fragmentation of data is one of the significant core reasons that businesses struggle with getting the insights that they actually need today. So executing in any of these areas is dependent on the access to accurate data. So just to mention a few, and as you can see on your screen, there have been results of billing delays, which in turn decrease the profitability or the inability to plan the capacity. Also, invoicing errors can lead to future pipeline and growth delays, and all in all, I think the major impact lies on the low utilization rate. Now, I'm sure that your organization today deals with all of these roles, and honestly, different stakeholders throughout the business need different types of insights into the accurate data so that they can take decisive action. So HR and payroll, if I can say, they need accuracy so that the employees can be compensated correctly. Billing department needs to ensure that time is invoiced accurately, whether it's internally or externally. And finance needs visibility of revenue, growth, and profitability in all. So as you all have been a part of our family for quite some time now, you have experienced all or parts of our time intelligence component. So as you may know, our time intelligence platform is designed with specific capabilities that allow all the stakeholders in the company the access, the visibility, and the unique functionality that you all need. So for some of you, we have configured our system to fit your needs. For others, we have scaled or grown with your organization as you grew. We have kept our promise to be global and secure and mobile ready so that we could take care of your deskless workforce. whether it's in multiple languages or if it is in multiple locations that you have today. We've also introduced artificial intelligence, so things like chatbots, facial recognition, and there's so much more that you can manage time intelligently. And most of all, we took care of your existing ecosystems so that we could provide you everything that you have today with Replicon using our Open Web Services API. Today, most of you use some of these or all of these products that are listed here. As you can see, we have a comprehensive approach that is critical to addressing all the different use cases that an enterprise organization like yours can have. So out of our experience, we have broken these use cases into two different types. We have time against projects and time for pay with leave. So on one side, you can have time tracking against projects, you can have costing, you can have billing, you can have invoicing, and you can also manage your resources. And on the other side, you can track time against jobs and manage the workforce and absence management using the payroll functionality of Replicon. Or you can mix all of them and have all of it for your benefit. Replicon's time tracking and client project tracking and client billing solution is powered by our time intelligence platform. It has all the capabilities needed to solve the challenges around project tracking. There's billing and resource utilization. And we will talk about how we enable to capture all the billable hours, how we streamline billing processes, how we improve resource utilization, and how you can plan for your future projects today in Replicon. Well, with that, I'm going to pass things over to Curtis and have him jump into a quick demo for all of you right here.
Awesome, thanks Ashni. Just switching over to my screen. Are you able to see my instance?
I can.
Perfect, thanks. All right, so this is Curtis here. I will be your lovely tour guide of the platform today. So with Replicon, we want to make your time capture efficient, easy, and effective. With Replicon, you can capture 100% of your organization's time. And as we said before, with a 500 user organization, that is 1 million hours. And it's really important to know where all this time is going. So for example, you want to know which of your hours are billable hours because that's where you're making money. So with Replicon, we want you to know which hours are making you money, which hours are costing you money, and how you could use your resource pool more efficiently to make your organization run as smoothly as possible. So every hour that you enter into Replicon has so much information present inside of it, but it just needs to be cleaned and presented. And one of those ways we do it is the dashboards here. So dashboards are kind of the culmination of all the information that you've entered into Replicon. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we gotta start at the beginning. So let's imagine we just signed a big deal and we need to start planning a project. There's a couple ways we can do that. If you have your own CRM management programs, you can actually import everything directly from there and it'll show up on this screen like you see here. But we understand that not everyone has a separate program for that, so you can plan all of your projects right inside of Replicon. We have our add project feature where we have tons of different configurable options like billing types, time and expense entry, revenue type, and total contract value. So you can really make this project what you need it to be for your organization. Now, to keep everything easy and manageable, we organize our projects in sort of a top-down system. And that starts with programs. So programs are the larger initiatives within an organization. On this screen, you can see a nice summary of everything going on within each of these programs. We can actually set this table and change what we see. But if you need a little bit more information on any one of these programs, you can drill down. And what we'll actually get here is the ability to see our actuals versus estimates on a daily or weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis. And we can see things like hours, costs, billing, and resources. Now, being able to forecast this information is really important because if our estimates and actuals are lining up and we're on a good trajectory, then we know we can keep plodding along with what we're doing. But if we start to see a downward trend with our actuals versus estimates, it means that we need to do some course correction before things get too dire. So within these programs, we actually have a breakdown for each project as well, and it'll show a very similar screen that we just saw, but on a project level. And to even break this down even further, within each project, we have tasks. So entering time towards just an open project could mean any number of things. There is so many moving parts inside of a project. So as you can see here, we have tasks, subtasks, and those tasks, subtasks can be broken down even further. And this just really allows you to hone in exactly where all of your hours are going. So for example, you can see in our user training, webinar recording is going along swimmingly, but we might need a little bit of help in our online training and seminars as we haven't even started on those. So having these actuals versus estimates in this task just gives you a perfect idea of where your organization is on that timeline and if they are staying true to the timeline that they had committed to. So now that we understand how all these projects are broken down, we need to staff that project. And we do that through our team tab. So first thing you'll notice on this team tab is a nice summary of everyone that we have on the project. What's important to note is that with Replicon, everything is permission driven. So these users will only see information that they have permission to see. So maybe they're assigned to this project, but not to anything else in the program. They won't be able to see any information on any of those other projects. We can actually assign specific project and billing rates to each individual user, as well as assign specific tasks so that when they're entering their time, it is accurate. And you can actually create start and end dates to these tasks. So not only are they seeing only what you give them permission to see, but when you want them to see it. So this, again, really just allows for the accurate entry of time. So if we need to add a user, we can go to this allocation view and it gives us a good overview of where everyone on this project is spending their time. So you'll see a couple different color codes here. The blue represent hours allocated to this project. The grays are hours allocated to another project, and the two shades of green are hours allocated to vacation or time off. White space means usually that there's some time to be allocated, and this little red triangle in the corner is what we don't want to see. That means the user's over allocated and that they are probably incurring overtime and increasing our overhead. We can also sort this by percentage of scheduled hours if that makes more sense for you, and you can also sort through everything by daily, weekly, or monthly. So in this instance, I think we need to add a user with some Sage skills on this project. So when we go to our add user screen, you'll actually get a nice holistic overview of everyone in the organization and again, where they're allocated. So we want to see these boxes filled up as much as possible. If we're looking for a specific location, we can sort by that metric. We can also sort by program, client, project. But as I mentioned earlier, we're looking for someone with Sage skills. So if we filter through that, we can see we have Alex available, and yeah, next week he is free. So let's add him to the project. And the process of allocating users these hours is just as simple as it was as adding them to the project. So here for Alex, we can actually assign on a bunch of different platforms. We can assign total hours per week, so 40 hours is kind of the regular. We can assign hours per day, or if Alex has already been allocated a specific amount to a different project, we can actually assign an allocation of his available hours. And that way we just know we are maximizing his schedule, or you can allocate his scheduled hours. So tons of options exist for assigning these hours to make it simple for the user and the supervisor. So let's go ahead and add Alex to the project. And another interesting thing to note here is we are really able to hone in where we might have some extra hours available. So for example, with Robert, we can see he's got 24 hours, 12 hours, 36 hours. So that means he has 4 hours that haven't been utilized. So just imagine we were able to locate just 1 hour per user in our whole organization per week. If we had an average billing rate of $300, that one user, by finding that 1 extra hour per week for a year, will generate $15,000 of extra billable hours. And then if you multiply that by your whole organization of 500 people, that's $7.5 million from those billable hours that we discovered from just 1 extra hour a week. Now imagine like in this instance where we were able to find more and how much more efficient we could make our organization. And again, to get a good overview of all this that is going on with our organization, where all our resources working, we have this resources tab, which again breaks down how our users are using their time. Another important thing we have on this tab is our placeholder resources. So like we said before, we've signed our big deal. We're starting our project planning process. We need to understand how much of a workforce we need on this project. So with our placeholder resources, we can actually assign billing rates, skills, and then we can start plugging them into these projects, and it'll actually update those estimates versus actuals directly into the project so that you can better plan either around the staff that you have or for your hiring needs. So it really just allows flexible forecasting. So now that we've understood how to staff these projects, we need to start logging time towards them. And Replicon does that very well. We have a number of ways that we capture time within our system. One of the main ones is these time entry timesheets. So as you can see here, this is quite a complex timesheet that we are actually using to enter time towards projects. Now, when you're entering time towards project, you can select by client, project, and even task. What's important to note too is that this is searchable. So if you had 1,000 different tasks in your organization, you would be able to search those so your users aren't spending time trying to find the correct project code, and maybe if they get frustrated selecting the wrong one, just makes it really simple to ensure that your resources are entering time accurately. And again, they will only see the tasks and projects they are assigned to. So you have that full permission-driven ability within these timesheets as well. So you'll also notice that once we start entering time towards a timesheet, we'll have this progress bar on the right side of the screen that updates. And this just shows us how far along we are on a specific task, right? So before on that task screen, if users don't have permission to see that, at least they'll be able to see how far along they are here if you give them, again, access to that. We also have these target billable hours on the bottom. And as we said before, billable hours are key because that's where we're making our money. And we want our users to understand that as well, give them something to work towards. So they can set goals, you can set goals for each individual user as well as your company. And so you can accurately track how many of these hours that are being logged are billable, just to ensure your company is moving in the right direction. And you can actually see here, we can adjust our billing rate within each project. So when I refresh the screen, based on what I've entered, only the billable hours will update on the bottom. And then as the progress increases, we have kind of two different metrics that are increasing. So I'm going to do a little experiment here. On Wednesday, I have entered 25 hours, and for obvious reasons, that is abnormal. So let's see what happens when I try to submit this timesheet. Oh, first of all, I get an attestation error. So at the bottom here, you can see I have this attestation that I didn't check. This is an example of one of our validation rules being triggered. Validations are a set of rules inside of Replicon that ensure time is being entered to the organization specifications. And I'll dive into those in a second, but let's just see what happens when I go to approve this. Replicon's working its magic. An error has popped up. I tried to enter more than 24 hours, and this timesheet submission has failed. So there's two kinds of these validation warnings that can be triggered. There can be a soft warning, which will still allow a user to submit a timesheet, but there will be a warning for any of the supervisors or approvers. Or there's more of this hard warning that we just saw that will actually prevent the submission of my timesheet. So these validation rules cover a large amount of metrics. They look at overtime being governed, workday hours, mandatory breaks, complete in and out times. And like everything else in Replicon, these are configurable and you can assign them on an organizational basis or a user-to-user basis. But let's see some of these validation rules in action on a couple of different styles of timesheets. So for Thomas here, you'll see he has a punch timesheet. So Replicon does support punching, and again, you can punch in towards specific projects, breaks, whatever your organization needs. But here we can also see that we have to allocate our hours, and this can become a headache for users if they don't fully understand how their hours are being assigned to overtime, regular time, double time. They might not care much to fill out these sheets properly. So with Replicon, what we can actually do is assign pay rules to each of your users in your organization, and then we can overwrite this timesheet with the allocated timesheet hours, and it'll actually allocate them based on their pay rule. So one, that their timesheet is compliant, and two, it is accurate. So with Replicon, we just wanted to make everything as simple for the end user so they are really able to enter their time easily and accurately. We have a couple other examples of timesheets here as well. So here we have our timesheet approval page. This just allows us to peruse timesheets that haven't been submitted, some that are waiting for approval, And if they have any validation warnings like we see here, they'll be triggered. So let's start a more simple timesheet. Cristofonte has triggered one of these soft warnings. Let's see what's going on here. So he's entered more than 40 hours for this pay period. You can see Chris's timesheet is quite a bit more simple. All he has to do is enter time, not towards his task or project. He just has to throw his time on the timesheet. But he has entered too much time. So if Chris realizes after the fact that he entered too much time, or maybe we get back to Chris, he can actually reopen this timesheet at any time. And anytime there is a change, this approval history on the bottom will be updated. So there's full transparency for both the user and the organization. And in case of audit or dispute, you can always go back and see what changes were made. Me as a supervisor can always go back and reopen these timesheets at any time as well. But ideally, we want to give the end user the ability to update their time so that our supervisors are spending time less with administration, more again on those billable hours. And let's take a look at this other timesheet we saw here. So Rania has 6 validations triggered. That is a little alarming. So let's take a dive into there. So we can see Rania's timesheet is a little bit more of this custom timesheet. So we've configured this for an organization, and it has things like mileage, comments. They're also logging time towards tasks and activities. And here we can see that she triggered the please enter comment for a day warning, which means this organization feels like comments are necessary on every timesheet. So this is just a couple of examples of the timesheet configurability that we can do, as well as these validation warnings working in tandem with these timesheets. But we didn't only want to cater towards the desk audience. We know there's a ton of different mobile workforces that have users on the go, and we needed to make things just as simple for those users. And for that, we have our mobile app. So our mobile app was designed to work as efficiently with a simple user face like our desktop platform. So everything here is quite similar and quite familiar. So my timesheet will look the same. I can actually drill down into each day and log time specifically towards clients. I can log time towards projects, tasks, etc. You can see I have the option to enter comments, select billing rates. So everything is very familiar, and again, just allows users to enter their time while they are on the move. We also wanted this process to be just as simple for supervisors. So we have this dashboard page which displays all pertinent information for supervisors. Anytime an action needs to be taken, they'll either get a push notification or an email, and they can actually just dive into their app here. And if they have more than one timesheet to approve, we can actually batch approve or batch reject. But it's always good to dive into our timesheets, drill down, and just make sure everything's looking good. So 40 hours per week, no validations triggered. We can see what she's logging her time towards. So everything looks business as usual. And if it suits the organization, in this instance, we can actually create an approval pathway that automatically approves these timesheets. So if there's no approval or validation warnings triggered and it's not above the regular working hours, we can actually move these timesheets along the approval process just to make things even more efficient and again, reduce the burden on our supervisors. So now that we've accurately captured our time, we need to bill for it. And in Replicon, again, we're giving you options. So if you have an accounting or billing program, you can export all of this information directly there. But if you need to invoice directly from Replicon, that option exists too. So in Replicon, our invoices have a couple different stages. You can actually email them directly from Replicon to the client. You can issue the invoice, and once it's paid, you can add it as paid, and then it'll automatically track all your different states of your invoices, as well as the status of all the billing within your organization. Again, these invoices are fully customizable, and you can actually edit them on the fly too. So in this instance, it looks like Matt Wolf, he wasn't able to complete it in the 12 hours. It actually took him a little bit longer, 16 hours. And all those changes will be reflected and visible for both the organization and the client. You can add things like discount lines, whatever you need on this invoice, you can add it. Another interesting thing to note is that we can customize invoices for each client. So we can actually create these templates with our logo. We can change the format, the accent colors, whatever we need to make this look nice. Finally, after we've done all our billing, our project is complete, we want to understand all of this data that we have entered into our system. And we do this in a number of ways. One of those is through, like we saw earlier, our dashboards. These dashboards are always being updated. They are living. So anytime you enter information into Replicon, these will automatically adjust to accommodate for that information that you've entered. So every hour will be reflected in these dashboards as you enter it. No need for any change on your side. All these dashboards are configurable. You can add any amount to the screen, and they're really great for exporting into slideshows, or presentations for leadership, or just giving anyone who needs to understand the organization just its health at a glance. So for example, if we wanted to see, I want to understand a little bit more about our billables by project, we can actually drill down into that dashboard, get all the raw data that's going behind those visuals. But if we're a little curious about a specific system or project like this customer billing systems, we can actually, again, drill down a little further and see, wow, Tammy Benson is putting in a lot of billable hours to this project, and she is really helping move things along. So at a couple clicks and a glance, we were able to identify outliers in some of our information and either give accolades where they're due or start course correction if needed. Another way that we display this information is through reports. And we all have seen a report in our life. It's the hardline breakdown of all the data. These reports, again, fully configurable. You can customize your own. You can really do whatever you need with them, but we have a host of these pre-configured reports within the system already. One of these is the project profitability analysis, and this is a really nice breakdown of each project's health on a project-by-project basis. So if we have a discrepancy between our expected profitability and the actual profitability, you'll get an alert. So this really just allows you to look through all of your organization's projects and understand where some course correction might need to take place. And finally, we do understand that you have a large ecosystem that has many moving parts, and you'll need some way to display all this information as well. So for that, we have our BI connectors. So Replicon is actually able to connect with BI tools like Tableau, Google BigQuery, and Power BI. And this is like the dashboards except for all of your organization's information. So with a couple clicks, you're able to plug in all of your information to these pre-made workbooks, and everything will be populated as you see here. And all of these dashboards are actually, again, you can drill down into each one of them. And if you're looking at specific metrics that you want to understand a little bit more, so maybe your utilization per department, you can drill down, you can see by user. So again, we're giving you the ability to use all of your information in a meaningful way, and not only with Replicon, but every other part of your ecosystem. So that brings me back to the end of my demo. I'm going to pass things back to Ashni, and she's going to review some of our transformations that customers have seen while using our platform. So that's all from me today, and thank you for attending my demo. And yeah, Ashni's going to take over from here.
Great. Thanks, Curtis. Just to confirm, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thanks again for that wonderful demo, Curtis. So here's a quick look or a recap of all the benefits that Replicon has offered. It can be you, it can be to every other customer that we have today. We have, for a lot of customers, seen a significant decrease in revenue leakages. There has been an overall increase in the resource utilization that has happened. There has been a subsequent decrease in administrative overheads, of course. And as you saw in the demo today with capabilities that Curtis showed today, we've managed to increase the average revenue per resource and increase the resource planning horizons to a really, really big extent. Here's a quick example that I wanted to bring up of one of the recent 300-person employee organization that onboarded with Replicon very recently. Before reaching out to us, they were managing time with manual spreadsheets and homegrown system. It was difficult for them to track and manage cash flows and had a delayed billing that started affecting their profitability on the whole. But after implementing Replicon, they were able to track accurate and consistent data. They had improved resource management that helped reduce the understanding of hours and improve billing. They had better staffing as the project managers were now able to manage project allocations and the availability in a very good and better way. They actually, all in all, had accurate billing as their client billing process was quite streamlined. Another example that I wanted to bring forward is of a 6,500 plus employee IT firm who had major challenges in managing their mobile or deskless workforce. Their manual process meant errors, there were huge admin overheads, and there were, of course, the cash flow issues. But with Replicon, they achieved a single source of truth for all the employees' time, and then they got proactive information to take the right business decisions. With that, we are at the end of today's presentation. Like we discussed before, we have a comprehensive suite to help businesses manage all their time, projects, compliance, people, and profit. Today, we just saw some of the capabilities around project billing, but if you feel there is anything that you wish to explore more, or if there's something that you haven't been using as yet, or if you want to get a detailed demo of any of the features that Curtis did show up today, please reach out to your customer success manager and they should be able to do it for you. With that, I'm going to open the forum for questions. I have a couple of questions that came up already, so I'm just going to take those up first, and then in the meantime, actually, you can just go ahead and post your other questions. I think this is one of the questions I've got like about twice or thrice by now. The question is about the recording of this particular webinar. Just to let all of you know, yes, we're going to send out the recording of the webinar to all of you. You will have recordings in place, and you can just go ahead and have that shared, or you can just go ahead and have a look at it whenever you want. I do have another question here. It says, does Replicon integrate with every accounting software? Well, of course, we do have a lot of examples that we could share where we have integrated with a lot of accounting softwares. For example, QuickBooks, if I can take up. So the invoices, just to pick up a use case which Curtis showed up today in the demo, the invoices were synced with Replicon, and the people were able to go ahead and use that. I have another question here. Is the dashboard functionality only available if you have billing functionality? Well, no, of course not. You can go ahead and use the dashboard functionality even if you're using a payroll functionality or just the timekeeping or absence management. Anything that you do, dashboards are available for you to track the features. So anything and everything is available on dashboard. Just go ahead and use that. I have another question that has come up here. It says, how is global compliance and payroll managed in Replicon? Thank you for asking that. Global compliance and payroll, of course, is taken care of. Global pay rules that are updated within the Replicon library. We have a set of global pay rules that are available. These are by the country or state laws, and we have a dedicated team that takes care of these. So if there's anything that changes in the law, we go ahead and change that for you. So that's taken care of. You can go ahead and use that, and you can have the updated versions every time that the law changes. So that's how we take care of it. And of course, we integrate with a lot of payroll systems, so all the payroll data can be integrated and done. There's another question which says, will you have an upgraded version or soon for invoicing? We have that in plans, of course. There's a team working on enhancing how the invoicing works. In fact, a lot of features that you saw today are being worked upon further to enhance your experience. So yes, you should have more one too. There's another question that says how to get access to the dashboard tab. Well, in the user permission that has been assigned to you, just go ahead into your permission. There will be an option either for dashboards or reports and dashboards. Just go ahead and enable that in your user permission, log out and log in back again to your system, and you should see the dashboard tab available for you. So you can create a new permission if you don't want everybody else to have the dashboard access. Just create a new user permission, and that's where you get access to the dashboard tab. I have another question here. Do I need a separate configuration for Power BI or Tableau Connect? If not, how can I start using it? You don't need a separate configuration for sure. If you are already using Tableau and Power BI, under the report section, you will have an option of going ahead and using or connecting. If you still don't see that option, get in touch with your customer success manager. They should be able to show you that option, but that's readily available in all instances in the report section. Just go ahead and use that and connect to any of the tools like Tableau and Power BI and start using it. All right, I'll just give it a minute for any other questions to come in. But of course, even if I'm not able to take up any more questions, for sure you can get in touch with your customer success manager at all points, and they should be able to answer the questions for you. All right, then. I don't see any more questions coming in. So thank you for being a part of today's webinar and have a great day ahead. Thank you. Bye bye.